Hey everyone, it's Rina. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to anybody who might be new here. Today I have a review on a new holiday product that has recently come out. I believe it came out this past Monday. I think it was the 26th of September, and it was released on Sephora's website. I know that today it was released on the brand's website. So that elusive product that I haven't mentioned yet is the Kat Von D MetalMatte palette. I did a first impressions slash kind of unboxing, little bit of a swatch video just 2 days ago, yesterday. I can't remember, the days are kind of starting to blur, but I've actually used the shadows on my eyes multiple times. I've used the majority of the shades already, kind of playing around and making looks, and it is what I have on today. I kind of did a halo look today. The camera's kind of washing me out just a little bit because I definitely have more of a pink shade in the crease. And yeah, so I've had some time to play with it. I've had some time to wear it. And I've been able to get a feel for how things blend, how things apply, and stuff like that. So I think I can finally kind of give you guys my review. I'm also going to be doing swatches on my hand with a brush over primer. So I have Urban Decay Powder Potion already on my hand. That is my preferred primer. And this is the style of brush that I typically apply my eyeshadow with, so this is going to be very true to how it would show up on my lid. So just to get some logistics out of the way, this is the MetalMatte palette. As you can see here, it says metal like this, and then when you flip it, it says matte, which I think is a really cool design choice. I would never have been able to come up with that, so kudos to Kat Von D for designing it. It is a little more plain in terms of packaging in comparison to some of her older palettes. For comparison, I do have the Mi Vida Loca Remix palette that came out last holiday season. This was not one of my favorite palettes, so let me get into that real quick. I've been using Kat Von D eyeshadows for a very long time. They were actually some of the very first eyeshadows I ever purchased high-end, like on my own, with my own money. When I was in high school, I worked for my dad's boss, and I was able to kind of buy a couple things one year, and I had bought the Ludwig palette, and I think it was called the True Love or True Romance palette. I can't remember the exact name, but they were palettes that had greens and purples and totally colors that I came to really love, and I quite liked the formula. They, for some reason, burned my eyes, like when the powder would get in them, but it was never anything that caused a serious problem. It was just something in the powder that burned. It was no sensitivity. It never left a rash or anything. That was the only negative thing I ever found about her shadows. So, fast forward to this palette. I was very excited about it, but I hadn't bought Kat Von D in a very long time. My then boyfriend, now fiance, bought this for me last year, kind of just as a just because present. I think this was like $59 or something, and it's like a color wheel. I don't use this very often because I was not impressed with the quality. The mattes especially were very patchy and not very pigmented. There was a couple shimmer shades, like I think it was Echo, that was very, very much a letdown. I don't reach for it just because it is so hard to work with. So when the MetalMatte palette came out, I was a little bit skeptical. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I should go for it because I had such a poor experience with Mi Vida Loca, and I had actually gone into the store and swatched Serpentina and also found that I wasn't very impressed with it. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to invest in this. What sold me is that I have tried one of Kat Von D's Metal Crush eyeshadows. I think it's Iggy. It's one of the green ones, but not the chartreuse, the darker green. And I really liked it. I like the formula, and I love metallic eyeshadows, so I figured maybe I'll give this a shot. What's the worst that can happen? I have rarely ever return things. If I return one thing to Sephora, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? So I decided to give it a go and give Kat Von D another run, because I hadn't really tried them in a while, and people love her Shade and Light palette, so I figured maybe the mattes in this will be better. So this is a $60 palette. It comes with 22 eyeshadows, 9 Metal Crush shades, and 13 mattes. So a wide range of eyeshadows, a good amount of product. Let's see the actual amounts. So you're getting, I believe it's 0.006 ounces of the Metal Crush, and then you're getting 0.06. I put one too many zeros. 0.06 ounces of Metal Crush and 0.06 ounces of the mattes. So the Metal Crush eyeshadows are considerably smaller than their full sizes. Their full sizes are about this big in the pan, and these are considerably smaller. However, honestly, how much metallic eyeshadow are you going to go through? I don't think it's a big deal. $60 for 22 eyeshadows is really not a bad price at all, in my opinion, for the amount of product you're getting. So, to get, I guess, a little bit into it, I mentioned in my first impressions video that I would compare it to the size of the Sugarpill Pro palette. So I do have my Pro palette here. This is just one of them. And this is the Kat Metal Matte. I wanted something that was a little bit comparable in size. I know people were really kind of shocked at the size of the Sugarpill, so I wanted to show how much bigger this one is. So I'm lining them up. They're about the same width, so you can see the layer, but the Metal Matte palette is just about that much longer. So this is a pretty large palette, and it's also quite thick. It's the black one on the bottom there. It's a very hefty palette. It has a lot of weight to it, which can be good or bad. This is probably not something you're going to want to travel with, so that's something to keep in mind. For me, that's not a big deal. I have other palettes I'll travel with, but just for consideration, this is something that's very large and going to be hard to pack. The mirror is very large, very generous. I actually think it's pretty awesome, but it's so weighted up here. The majority of the weight of the palette comes from this area, the packaging and the mirror, that it's never going to stay up on its own. Which, if you're used to that, that's okay, and it makes it really easy to fold backwards and access the eyeshadows a little bit easier. But if you wanted that's another reason. What I'm trying to get at, that's another reason it's not good for travel, is because the mirror is not very easy to use. You're definitely going to have to prop it up with your hand. So, I'm going to go ahead and do the swatches and let you guys know if I've used the shade, how it worked, and we'll just get into it now. I'm going to start with the Metal Crush eyeshadows just because they're on the top, and we'll move forward from there. The first one is Nebula, which is a dark navy metallic color. Again, this is with a brush over primer. It's a beautiful shade. It's gorgeous pigmentation. Not a lot of kick up, like powder kick up when I swatch it, so that's always a nice thing. The next one is Watt, which I have used on my eyes, and it worked very, very nicely. It's a beautiful teal color. Definitely more of a green tone teal than a blue tone teal. I quite like this one. Next is Ignite, which I've also used on my eyes, and it's a gorgeous shade. I love colors like this. Urban Decay had one called Money in a palette a long time ago, and I've been looking for something to replace that. So this is very beautiful. The next one is Tinsel, which I did use yesterday as well. I did a couple of eye looks yesterday just to kind of test out application. This one is a little bit chunkier, a little bit looser packed, but it is a beautiful kind of taupey tan color with insane shimmer. The next one is Glitz. I have not actually applied this one to the lid. It's a very intense champagne color. I love champagne, but this is very, very frosty. Almost a little too frosty for me, so I'm not sure that I'll wear it too often. The next one is Twinkle, and I actually do have this one on today. Let's see, it's right here. Kind of a nice pale lavender shade, a lot more cool toned than some lavenders, and it's what I have on the center of my lid. The next one is Volt. I used this just, I think, to add a little bit of depth in one of my looks yesterday, and it was nice, but it's not too pigmented. It's a like wine purple color, not as shimmery as the other ones either. Okay, the next one is Synergy. I have not used this one. This is not really a color that I wear too often, to be honest. It's a very red, warm-toned, kind of coppery brown. Very pigmented and soft, just not a color I gravitate towards. And the last Metal Crush is called Flash, which is one of the other ones I haven't used. It's a very vibrant golden color, really beautiful. Again, just a shade that I don't normally gravitate towards. Now, moving on to the mattes, there's a nice range between lighter shades and darker shades. You can really do a lot with the mattes in this palette. I do have one issue in that there are two white shades. There's this one over here called Linen, and then this one is kind of an off-white called Bone. I think we really could have gotten away with just having Bone because it is so light, or Linen, one or the other. I think Bone is just a little easier to use. But anyway, I'm just going to start swatching. We'll start with Linen. It's right there. Pretty pigmented for a white. I'm going to quickly compare it to Taco from Sugar Pill, which is right down here. Personally, I think that Taco, I'm not sure how to actually pronounce it, is a little more, a little smoother. It's right here. There's Taco. It's a little bit different in tone, honestly. It's kind of funny to think that a white could have a tone. I like Taco a little bit better, but this will definitely work if you need a white. The next one is Jet, which is, as you might imagine, a black. This is just one swipe into the pan and then layering it on my hand. It's pretty pigmented. You can see there's just a little bit of fallout, but that's pretty typical for a black eyeshadow. With the brush, this is pretty smooth. Finger swatches made these a little more patchy, but applying it with a brush was extremely simple. The next one is Velour, which is absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to actually use this intensively in a look. I've pretty much just added it for blending purposes yesterday. Beautiful, vibrant royal blue. It's really gorgeous. I've never seen a royal blue matte this nice. Next is Stone, which is a gray matte, and for many people I think this is exciting because gray mattes that are actually useful and nice are hard to find. It's right here, very pigmented, gorgeous cool toned gray. I really love that one. Okay, so the next one is Moss, and I used this yesterday actually as my transition crease shade. I really loved it, and it blended so nicely. This is really a beautiful green color, and not one that I think you see too often, especially in a matte formula. Next one is Ribbon, which I actually have on. That's what I used to create the halo part of my eye look today. So this actually blended extremely nicely. It's kind of a gray toned purple, pretty deep, but it absolutely, I had no issues making this eye look. It went on so smooth, so pigmented, so easily, and it blended like a dream. Compared to the Mi Vida Loca Remix palette that I keep looking at over there, I can't believe how much more, how much easier these blend and are more consistently pigmented. The next one here is Silk, and I did use this one today too. I don't know if you can really tell in the camera, but this is what I have in my crease to kind of blend out. It's a really nice kind of pale mauve-y pink color, really beautiful, and I think it makes a great transition for the purples in this palette. Next is Fringe. This one's a little bit powdery, but it's very pigmented for the color it's supposed to be. If you can see it, it's kind of funny that I said it's super pigmented, but it's kind of blending into my skin. It's a creamsicle kind of color. Let me see if I can just build it a little bit more. Right there. There you go. You can kind of see it's like a salmon-y creamsicle color. Really nice. I think it would be fun for like a springtime look or something a little bit lighter if you wanted to do something, you know, not as dark as some of these colors. Next is Feather, and this is a yellowy color. It's kind of funny to me. I think this one doesn't fit necessarily with the rest of the palette, but it is a little powdery. That's why I kind of blew it off there. It's right there. A light pale yellow, not super pigmented. Probably better to blend or lighten colors. Next is Oak, which is very pigmented. I was very surprised. Gorgeous, smooth, intensely pigmented brown. More of a kind of cool tone brown, in my opinion. So let's move on to a couple of the lighter colors now. This is Suede. This is a really good option if you need a shade to help blend out your looks. Transitional shade. I kind of had to swatch it a little creatively here since we're running out of space. But it is right there. I know it's kind of hard to see on my skin tone because it is such a transition shade. But it works nicely for those looks where you need something to blend from here to the brow bone. Bone is one of the highlight shades in the palette, and it's really nice. It's an off-white kind of cream color, although it looks very white in my swatch. It's lovely, but it does kick up quite a bit of powder, so that's one thing to, you know, think about. And the last one here, I actually have my lower lash line. It's called Velvet, and this one is very pretty. Right there, it's kind of like a cranberry shade. I'm surprised how much I like this one because I'm not usually a fan of shades like that. So real quick, this is what the palette looks like again. My favorites from the palette are probably Velour, Moss, Ribbon, Silk, and Velvet. I do like Bone, but it's not my favorite highlight shade ever. And then up here, my favorites are probably Ignite and Nebula. So I'm a big fan of this. I'm very pleasantly surprised. I'm so happy that this really redeemed Kat Von D for me. I love her eyeliners and I love her lipsticks, which I'll be getting to hopefully this weekend. But as far as eyeshadows go, I had been kind of upset and disappointed. This really kind of brought her back in the game for me and made me fall in love with it even more. These mattes are some of the most lovely to work with that I've tried in a long time. Sugar Pill is very, very nice. I'm a huge fan of Sugar Pill eyeshadows, as you guys know, but these might even be a little bit easier to work with than those. I mentioned that I might possibly talk about dupes with you guys. Let me real quick just swatch Velocity here. This is from Sugar Pill. This is one of the only dupes I really thought might be worth trying. It's a lot brighter. There's Velocity, guys, right there. And there is Velour. I'm sorry the swatching situation is kind of sad, but you can see that Velocity is quite a bit brighter. Velour is a little bit deeper and darker. Other than that, I'm pretty sure there aren't any real solid dupes. You could probably get away with using Frostine from Sugar Pill instead of Twinkle if you wanted a color that was a little bit lavender. Other than that, a lot of these are kind of hard to dupe other than maybe the black and the white. At least from Sugar Pill's range. I was just trying to think of, in terms of matte eyeshadows that I have that are colorful, I don't have many other options for myself in my collection other than Sugar Pill. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and like little review type of thing on the MetalMatte palette. Let me know if you picked it up or if there's any other holiday sets that you're looking at recently. I know there's a lot going on right now in the makeup world, and this was just one of those that I wanted to try and see if maybe it was better than the past palettes I had from Kat. And I'm really, really happy that it really redeemed itself. I do want to mention that the set, and I'm not sure if I have it with me. Let me see. I think it's over on my desk. But this came wrapped around the palette. It's just a little cardboard sleeve. And then the box just looks like this with colors on the back. But inside was a little look card, and it gave you 3 looks that you could do, which is helpful if you don't really know where to begin. And if you're a beginner, I think this palette could be a little overwhelming, especially considering that they're very colorful mattes, and that might be intimidating at first. So I guess overall, my thoughts, I think it's a good value. I am very pleasantly pleased with it. The mattes blend like an absolute dream and are very pigmented. With a brush, they're an absolute dream to work with. Swatching with the fingers, that might be a little bit misleading. So if you're going into the Sephora store, maybe swatch with an applicator, because with the fingers, it was definitely patchy, but in application, I can tell you that is not the case. The metals are very nice, and as far as wear goes, I've been wearing this for about 7 or 8 hours now, and it still looks pretty nice, so I'm impressed so far. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a good one and that you guys have a good weekend. I will talk to you guys soon. I'll have quite a few videos coming up, I hope. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys soon.